Hello, no one. Hold on one second, I gotta get linked up on my thingy. Oh, I got one person. Hello, how are you? Hope you're doing well. I'm gonna start with, as usual, the question that I got on Instagram when I posted about the live feed. Someone asked about a supplement, I think it's called like 5-HTP, something or other, for depression. And thank you. You guys keep me going too. And as far as depression goes and medication and such, I feel like supplementation is a better place to start. Like, I know the 5-HTP and other supplements like St. John's wort or, Bach flower remedies or homeopathic stuff. That's like, all of this stuff, in my opinion, is fairly harmless, The effect that it can have on your brain chemistry certainly isn't anything as strong as the effect that, like, say, antidepressants can have. So I would say definitely start with supplementation before you decide to go on medication, because there can be some unintended consequences with the medications like the SSRIs and other forms. There's a good book if you want to read a little bit more about medication and the testing process that these medications go through and their potential efficacy and or lack of efficacy. There's a book called Anatomy of an Epidemic. I don't remember who that's by. I did have the book, but it was one of those where I loaned it and then the book never comes back. So, anyway. But depression, I feel like if you're going to treat depression, it really needs to be like a holistic thing, because so many people who I hear about or who I meet who are dealing with depression, they explain their circumstances a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, that is a completely valid reaction to what you're going through. So, like, you should feel depressed. And as far as I am concerned, and as far as many mental health professionals are concerned, life has ups and downs, like depression, feeling low, getting or not being able to get out of a funk for a while. Those are pretty natural parts of life. And what's been happening, and a lot of it has to do with like marketing from the pharmaceutical industry, is that we are pathologizing natural parts of our lives. So that, oh no, if you feel down, it's like if you look at everybody else's Facebook feeds and you're not that happy, there's something wrong with you. And that's very much so not the case. And I know, I'm going to adjust this right quickly. I have my iPad propped up with my anatomy flashcards, and then just have to get just the right angle. And I know that that I've been really open and honest about this, but I've dealt with depression for the majority of my life. It started in my preteen years, and it kind of stretched all the way through my 20s with some, quick ups and downs, and then ups, and then down, and up and down, and up and down, and, ever since the stuff happened with my mom last year, which I've been really open about as well, I'd just gotten into a really crappy funk, and then life just kept happening, and I was just like, oh, I'm a lot more down than I usually am, but, eventually I did come back up, so it's part of life, and it's, at the same point in time, I feel like acceptance is important. Through this last little, bout of depression, I've been really honest with most of the people in my life, who I have those more fluid boundaries with. It's like if we hung out and they're like, oh, hey, how are you? And I'd be like, I'm pretty inconsolable right now. And I would just be honest about that. And they'd be like, oh, geez, do you want to talk? Do you want to, what's going on with that? And yeah, I'd talk to people, and they'd give me some advice, good advice, bad advice. I'd listen, hear their experiences, and all that was really helpful, and so I didn't feel so isolated and ashamed of my depression. And then also purposefully doing things to, like, break me out of that neural pathway. So, you know, I would get into thinking, like, oh, life's just not worth it, and we're all screwed, and it doesn't matter how hard I try. You know, I can get into that pattern, but I also have to purposefully break that pattern. And once it's broken, and once I've been kind of firm about myself, about, you know, we're not going to think like this right now, once I get out of that pattern, like I am now, it's a lot easier for me to maintain that, and it's kind of difficult for me now to imagine how I could be so depressed. And when I'm depressed, it's difficult for me to imagine how I could ever not be depressed. So, depression is complicated and normal and has valid causation oftentimes. And no, like, bullshit gratitude doesn't work. Like, I can't pretend my way out of depression. I can be purposeful about developing new patterns for myself, but false positivity doesn't work for me. Okay, I'm going to start from the top. Vitality Raw says, what do you think about vegan protein powders? I think vegan protein powders are, like, marginally useless. You know, our bodies don't need that much protein, realistically. Even when I'm lifting weights and stuff, and I'm trying to build new muscle, I notice that my appetite gets bigger and I end up eating more, full stop, but I don't specifically supplement with proteins. You also get into the isolated protein supplements when you're talking about protein powders, like isolated pea protein or isolated soy proteins or isolated hemp proteins. And so you're not eating the whole food anymore. And those isolated proteins can have an effect on your hormone systems, specifically IGF-1, where they can raise that insulin-like growth factor in a way that is very similar to meat and dairy. So then you have to start calling into question, is eating a plant-based diet really gonna help slash my cancer risk? Or am I perhaps messing with myself here? So I don't use them. I wouldn't really recommend anyone use them, but in the scheme of things, like, is it gonna kill you? Like, is a vegan protein powder added to a whole plant food diet going to hurt your health? Probably not. But you have to make that choice for yourself, and I think it's wise to make an informed choice. So, you know, none of us are protein deficient, so you don't have to stress about that as long as you're eating enough calories. I know a lot of bodybuilders and athletes do like to take the protein supplements, but I question that, and I understand why. Like, I understand that their bodies perhaps have increased needs, or there's a lot more breakdown. But when there's a lot more breakdown of muscle tissue, there's also a lot more recycling of muscle tissue, because your body is so good at recycling amino acids. So it's not like if you go to the gym and you pump your muscles and then you get some muscle breakdown and then it rebuilds. It's not like it's breaking them down and totally getting rid of all of that. It's breaking it down and then rebuilding it, usually using a lot of recycled stuff and then maybe some new amino acids from your diet. So it's really not that big of a deal. The other thing that you want to think about, too, is protein metabolism. Like, your body can't actively store protein like it can fat in fat tissue or carbohydrates as glycogen in your muscles and liver. So when you eat protein or amino acids, you have to metabolize and deal with them and excrete them immediately. So if you're getting a ton more protein, amino acids, than you need, your body is going to have to excrete those, and that goes through your kidneys. That can affect your blood pH. That can stress your kidneys. So all that kind of stuff. Okay. Thank you. I'm so glad that I can inspire others to make better choices for themselves. It always surprises me when I get compliments like, me? Little old me? Wow. Yeah. Little baby sweet potato, she's being, open and vulnerable with us all, so let's all be kind. She's dealing with depression and anxiety from eating disorder stuff, and specifically, like, feeling food in her stomach, and then all those feelings that come with that, and wanting to get rid of it, but trying, to be in recovery and take good care of yourself. And I've totally been there. I remember it's not only like an emotional thing, it's also like a physical thing. When you've been going through that disordered eating pattern for so long, you get food in your stomach and it just kind of automatically starts coming up, which is very triggering, So it's tough. And I'm not sure that there are any like hacks for it other than checking in with your body and just saying like, okay, I'm feeling this. It's not horrible. It's not wrong that I'm feeling it. It's not going, it doesn't mean that I'm bad or that my recovery is failing. It doesn't mean anything except that I'm just feeling it right now. And letting yourself accept that. And trying to be as comfortable as you can with it. And not read too much into what could it mean, I remember going through those feelings. I remember just feeling like so disgusted with my body. And what I tried to do was tap into feeling those feelings and then purposefully reversing it. So this is one of those times where I did kind of blow positivity up my own ass, but I did it in as real a way as I possibly could. So, I'd eat something, my stomach would feel full, I'd be like, oh my god, no, I've ruined my life, I'm never going to achieve the goals that I want to, I'm going to be fat forever, I'm just going to, blah, blah, blah. You go into this horrible self-dialogue, and I would purposefully get that and flip it and start talking to myself and be like, you know what, you're okay. I'm right here, and you're fine. All you have to do is keep breathing, take some deep breaths. Your stomach's full right now. That's okay. It will pass. This too shall pass. And I'm not in love with my body right now. Like, I love you, Bod, for what you do, but I acknowledge that I'm not feeling super happy. But I also acknowledge that this is not forever, and I am going to get better because I am committed to getting better. And then I talk myself through it, and eventually you get to the point where, you're like, I love you, and you genuinely feel that. You genuinely feel that love for your body. So it's tough. I definitely acknowledge that. And she also says that she never feels satisfied no matter how much she eats. And I've talked about this too before. You go through that like empty, what do I call it, my bottomless pit phase, where like I just ate and ate and ate and ate and ate, and I would like feel physically overstuffed and physically like I was going to be sick, but I was not satisfied. And that went on for a while. And I actually just let myself do it. Because I didn't know what else to do. Like, I couldn't go back to the restricting. And eventually, I feel like over the span of several months, it got to a point where I would be eating and eating and eating and just shoveling it in my face. And then I got to a point where I could stop and be like, am I still hungry? Be like, I don't think I am. So I'm going to try not eating for 10 minutes, and then if I want to keep eating, I will. And then most of the time, I would be like, 10 minutes later, no, I'm not hungry. So I think that's enough for me. And I got to a point where I could be a little bit more realistic about that. And that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm still noticing, like, my appetite ratchets downward a little bit. So I think I'm finally at a point where I can eat food with other people present, and they're not appalled at how much I'm eating. Yeah. Okay. I haven't watched that Netflix documentary yet. I was planning to do that on a day or a night when Levi's not around, because I don't think he wants to watch that with me. He likes zombie movies. Okay. Is there ever reason to do a juice cleanse for a few days if you get adequate calories from the juice? Oh, the juice questions. I feel like that documentary, like, I watched the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and I was like, I want to get a juicer, and I want to go on a juice cleanse, and I want to do this and that. So I'm so familiar with the enthusiasm that comes from, like, I'm going to do a cleanse, and when I'm done, I'm going to be squeaky clean on the inside, and then, of course, I'm just going to meditate for the whole cleanse, so I'll be, like, totally balanced emotionally, too, which doesn't happen. And then, sorry, I don't think these comments are loading on my phone. And then, it doesn't work out that way, for me, at least, ever. But, what I always encourage people to do, instead of, like, a juice cleanse, is to do, like, a whole plant food cleanse, where you eat, like, 100% whole plant foods. If you want to go a little deeper, you can do, like, 100% whole plant foods, and then, like, cut down on the amount of grains that you're eating, because I know that, like, grains don't sit as well with my body, or do, you know, where you're eating predominantly different colored sweet potatoes for several days, along with, like, fruits and fresh veggies, and do something where you kind of strip your diet down to the bare bones, but you're still providing yourself with some of that fiber to keep your digestive system really healthy and moving, and all that gut bacteria happy. So, in my opinion, there's not a reason to do a juice cleanse for a few days, unless some people who are very ill, like with cancer or severe autoimmune outbreaks, or relapses, or someone who has, like, blood pressure that's so high that it could kill them. Those would be times where, like, yeah, do a bit of a cleanse, do a fast, preferably a medically supervised fast, but, you know. If you want to know when I'm doing these live streams, I announce them on my Instagram, so that would be the place where you can get them. Get notified. And then I meant to notify you guys sooner, but I always forget. Sorry, so... I did see Moana. We took the girls to see Moana in the theater, and then we watched it on Netflix a couple times, because Levi's eldest daughter, she looks just like Moana. And then now Levi got his tattoo, so we joke that he looks like Maui. Don't ask me about the Wiggles. That is something, though, like the children's shows that feature middle-aged men who like to play with small children, that makes no sense to me. Foods and herbs that can help with anxiety. I mean, there's like sedative herbs like valerian, St. John's wort, taking it consistently. I think it was like 2 or 3 times a day. I'm not sure about the exact dosage, but if you Google St. John's wort and depression, it'll give you more information. Darn. And then, I know that, like, if you take passion fruit vine leaves and boil it, it reduces anxiety. I think that's called, like, passiflora. That definitely comes in supplements. I did commentary on the top influential vegans, right? They didn't put me on there, did they? I haven't watched it yet. Yes, I've gone dumpster diving before. Yeah, a lot of foods do just throw away all of their stuff. I used to work for a health food store, and, like, I was the produce manager, so I kind of got to dictate, like, when fruits and vegetables got thrown away. And I would, I would take them all. So that works. Britt, I really don't know enough about herbs and herbalism to know it's good for anxiety. If you want to pick up a book like, where's my book? I mean, I could read this book to you, but I really don't know enough about it. Marijuana is also an option, although, if you want to do, like, oils or edibles for marijuana, I'm a lot more cool with that than I am with smoking hot smoke into your lungs. That's not good. Jess asks about hair loss. So the most common reasons for hair loss on a vegan diet are thyroid, but you said that your thyroid checks out, which I assume means TSH levels, which isn't always like a comprehensive test. But anyway, thyroid, iron, stress, hormones, genetics. So, I can't remember, hold on one second. I have just like random notepads everywhere. Yeah, it's DHT, dihydrotestosterone, which happens more in men than women, but it can happen in women, which the DHT shrinks the hair follicle, which means that less nutrients get to your hair, which can weaken the hair shaft and make it more prone to just falling out and not regrowing. So, I don't remember correctly totally, but I know that there are, there's some kind of supplement that, like, focuses on blocking that. It might be saw palmetto or something. I don't necessarily know how I feel about that, and I would prefer that you get, like, see if your doctor will do some kind of hormone profile to make sure that nothing else bad is going on with the hair loss. But, if you want to try, and also make sure that you have enough iron, like, if you're anemic at all, that can cause the hair loss. Stress is also a big thing if you're a chronic freaker-outer like I am. And then you can do a topical thing. Scalp oils are kind of a big deal right now, I've heard. I've been using one. It's fun. I've noticed, you know, my hair definitely feels a little bit healthier, and it feels great doing it, like putting all the oil on your scalp and massaging it. But the scalp oil that I use, I just make it at home, and it's coconut oil mixed with castor oil, with a little bit of sweet almond oil, rosemary oil, rosemary essential oils, some tea tree oil, some ylang ylang. Oh, I have it written here. Peppermint. You can do like thyme and lemongrass oils. All of that is good for stimulating your scalp. Yeah. And that scalp stimulation combined with like some scalp massage can really help to get blood flowing back to your hair a little bit more, and it might help. There's also the issue of a lot of times people's hair follicles get clogged with products, so I don't know what your usual routine is with your hair, but products, especially if your shampoo or conditioner contains silicone, can clog the follicle in your hair, and then it eventually can kill the hair follicle. So cleansing with a good clarifying shampoo or like baking soda can help, and really making sure that you scrub your scalp. Let me see if I can get these. Vegan under eye creams for wrinkles and whatnot. Yes, I love the Andalou brand. Andalou, I think is how you spell it. I have their hyaluronic acid and DMAE anti-wrinkle cream. I love that one. It's like super thick, but it goes on and then you just can't feel it. And then they have a really good vitamin C eye serum as well that I use, and it is wonderful. Hold on. My internet and my phone has just been like so whacked. I posted about it. Apparently it's like this big conspiracy with iPhones where they just purposefully stop working when they're 2 years old. Tiffany asks, should I get a full hypothyroid test done if my mom has hypothyroidism? I saw a doc, but she only tested TSH and T3, which she said was normal. I would say, just because your mom has it doesn't mean that you have it or are going to have it or whatever. Because there's so many lifestyle factors that can play into it. Obviously, you can have a genetic predisposition, but if you're not having symptoms and if your TSH and T3 are looking normal for now, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would really focus on keeping your diet and your lifestyle healthy, make sure you're getting enough rest, trying to deal with stress, and then with thyroid stuff especially, said it before, I'll say it again, I feel like expressing yourself is so important, and setting strong boundaries is so important, because I know that I had a lot of psychosomatic symptoms to do with the thyroid, and a lot of psychosomatic causes. So I wouldn't worry about it for now. If you start having symptoms, like if you start feeling really cold, like cold to your bones cold, or if you start feeling really depressed and you can't get out of it, if you start gaining weight, if you're constipated, that kind of thing. Is drinking alkaline water or water with a 9+ pH necessary, and what are the benefits? I don't believe that it's necessary. I believe that like about a neutral pH water is fine, especially if you're eating a good diet that's not super acidic. I've heard, and I can't remember if this was a reliable source or if this was like Robert Morse, but Robert Morse, I know he for sure said it, that super alkaline water can actually cause your body to swing too far in the other direction. And so I do tend to agree with that when you like purposefully consume these products that are too far on either side, you're just going to end up with these big swings that your body is going to have to try to manage. And that affects your own body chemistry. Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to factory reset my phone. I do balance ball workouts every now and then, but like we lost the pump for the balance ball, so I'm still trying to decide if I want to get a pump or if I want to get rid of the ball. Lemon water is definitely unhealthy for your teeth because it is acidic, and if acidic things are exposed to your enamel for too long, it can break down the enamel. It's especially bad if you say like sip lemon water or something else that's acidic and then brush your teeth right after, because you're just going to like brush your enamel off. How do I like my Berkey filter? I like it. Oh, so there's farm pesticides in your water. That stinks. That stinks really bad. I really like the Berkey filter so far. The taste of the water is phenomenal. Like, it gets rid of all the chlorine. It's much better than the Brita filter that I was using before. But I know that they have a fluoride water filter. But we don't have fluoride in the Big Island water, so I didn't bother to get the fluoride filter, but just the black Berkey filters are fantastic, and I'm definitely stoked about it. Even today, we were planning, like, what are we gonna do if North Korea nukes us? I'm glad I have my Berkey filter. Although it's not like I'm gonna drink the rainwater. I don't know of any sunscreen brands that are... Hold on a second. The Berkey filter, I'm not positive, you'll have to double check, but to the best of my knowledge, you can use a Berkey on catchment water because it will filter out like protozoa and parasites and other small animals that can make you sick. So I believe you can, but I would definitely double check on that. Okay. The sunscreens, I don't know of any that are particularly cheaper. And that's part of why I don't use sunscreen all the time, because it is so expensive, and then it's like, even with the best product, you're still smearing stuff and minerals onto your skin, and as much as I wish that sunscreen were a perfect product, I honestly don't think it can be. So try to keep covered as much as you can. Like if we go hiking, I have hat, I have sunglasses, I put a beach towel like over my head and over my shoulders and then my backpack on top of that, and I look like a freak, but I'm not sunburned at the end of the day. So I don't know, that's my recommendation for the sunscreen. Is it possible to massage out scar tissue? It's possible to soften scar tissue. Once scar tissue is formed, it becomes pretty darn solid, and so you actually have to, like, manually break it up, which just causes more damage to the tissue. Say you get injured or you have surgery or something and you have a big scar, it's really important to massage that scar as it's forming so that the fibers of the scar will lay down in a more straight pattern as opposed to all meshed up and knotted up on top of each other and stuck to fascia in weird places. It is possible to soften them though once they're formed. You can do that with manual stimulation. It can get pretty aggressive and it's not always comfortable, but it's possible. Integrative dry needling. I've actually never heard of that. Okay. Any deodorant suggestions? Woo, you got your husband off the aluminum bullshit, and now he's smelly. A lot of the smell factor with the armpits has to do with the bacteria that's living in your armpits. And I don't remember exactly what kind of bacteria, the two main types that live in there, but I think one of them is like staph or something. And I think that the staph bacteria, like it's natural staph, but it gets up in there and the staph doesn't smell, but the other type smells. But you can try to like get yourself to a point where your armpit starts to find a little more equilibrium. I haven't really found that. And in my job, I need to not smell terrible. So I use the Crystal deodorant, like the big hunk. It looks like a big piece of salt. I don't like the deodorants that are oil-based or that are more goopy because they tend to like make my armpit tacky and then I get chafing. I know some people that love those brands and they swear by them, but I'm also a big armpit sweater. So I have found that the Crystal deodorant salt block thing works best for me. I have found that it's only effective if you put it on after every single shower. So I shower twice a day, morning and night, just because it's Hawaii, I'm sweating all the time, I'm gonna shower. So every time I get out of the shower, if I put that stuff on while my armpit is still damp, I'm golden. No smell. I can sweat like crazy, no smell. If I forget for a day or two, it starts to stink. And I've found that if I start smelling and then I try to put on the Crystal stuff, it doesn't work. Like, it needs to be good and clean. Put the Crystal on it, and then consistently put the Crystal on every single time I shower. Which isn't tough, I just, keep it right next to the shower, get out, and we're good. Interesting comments by... Oh, there we go, okay. Phone is just super slow. It's called the Crystal deodorant. You can buy it. Hold on, I'll just get mine and show you. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's new, right? And this is what it looks like when you've dropped it in the floor 8 or 10 times and it has shattered into 1,000,000 pieces and you just try to use the biggest chunk you can find. So that's what I use and I love it. And it's not just limited to your armpits, If you're in the right situation, just, under boobs, stomach, anywhere that starts to sting. Overshare. Watch your head, Tedder. Come on. Good boy. Okay. And they also have like a spray. I've used the spray before. I actually started just using the spray as an office deodorizer, and it smelled really nice. But, yeah. Best lotion for dry skin. If you want like lotion, I do still love the Andalou brand. I have this stuff. It's like their chocolate or cacao and kukui body butter, and it's pretty delicious. But I mostly just use a mixture of, I use coconut oil, and I mix it with a little bit of tamanu oil, and then a little bit of orange essential oil with a tiny bit of pikake smell, so that I don't totally smell like a dirty hippie, or I guess a clean hippie. Because I know that I am getting to the point where, like, when I'm using tea tree oil or turmeric oil especially, I end up smelling so badly that it's like I'm either going to be beautiful and alone because I smell so bad, or slightly wrinkled, but actually have people who can stand my smell. Tips for getting your cycle back. Yes, I believe you said a few minutes ago that you're 16, and it's been MIA for 2 years, and you've been dealing with some eating disorder stuff, so it can take some time. And to be perfectly honest, human beings, the natural age that we would reach menarche, or the first official cycle with the shedding that we would have, would be like 16 or 17 in the first place. So obviously that's happening a lot earlier, mostly because of the diets that we're eating, the overabundance of fat in our diet. So I don't want you to like freak out too much. Also, you can talk to your doctor, see if they'll run some hormone tests for you, see what is off. Now, they'll probably try to put you on like birth control pills just to force it. But if you can get just the blood test reading from your doctor so that you know what your hormones are doing, that can help as well. I know that the major issue with, oh, I don't have my period is, oh, my hormones are bad, and that means that my bones are going to get osteoporosis, and then I'm going to fall over and my bones will shatter and I could die. And that's definitely a concern, especially if you've been dealing with eating disorder stuff. But at the same point in time, making sure that you're eating enough food and doing weight-bearing exercise is equally, if not more important for bone health. So it's not just one or the other, right? If you do want to pursue getting your cycle back, and like, that's a great idea, do it. More high-fat foods can be really helpful for that. So like nuts, seeds, avocados. I like to stick to the whole plant food sources of fats, like hemp seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, all that kind of stuff, and I like to grind those up right before I eat them. And those can be really helpful. It's also helpful to eat those foods like flax seeds and chia seeds, whole grain bread, what else? Soy, legumes, vegetables that are rich in phytoestrogens or plant estrogens, and those can help to be a little bit more of a regulating force for your body as well. But I'd say, like, the most important thing is try not to stress, because stress is the thing that will derail your progress the most. And I know that since you said that you're dealing with, like, anxiety and depression and such, like, I do that too. Stress is my go-to. It's just to, like, worry and get really anxious about everything. But as much as you can try to focus on accepting yourself, accepting your situation, acknowledging that you're going to do better for yourself so that you don't have to actively worry about it every moment, then that can be helpful. Thoughts on x-rays, dentist x-rays, airport x-rays? I mean, it's a form of radiation, so I feel like it would be wise of us to avoid whatever radiation we can. You know, whether that be strong radiation from being out in the midday sun, or radiation from dental x-rays, or airport x-rays. Apparently you can get radiation off of bananas. all kinds of things to be scared of in this world, right? I kind of refused to get dental x-rays for many years until my teeth started rotting out of my head from eating too many dried dates and not having good enough oral hygiene. And then I went to the dentist and begrudgingly got the x-rays and learned that I had about a dozen cavities in between most of my teeth, right? It was not a fun day. So I've told those stories in my dental routine videos, and I have all my recommendations there, but as far as the x-ray goes, I consent. And my dentist, we've gotten to the point where, like, I'm a few years past all of that, and they've taken several x-rays, and everything is stable. I got some of those cavities filled, some of them stopped growing. It looks like some of them started to, remineralize and heal because they were very, very small cavities. So we are now skipping to, like, every 3-year x-rays, unless one of my teeth hurts, and I'm comfortable with that. But dental x-rays aren't that big of a deal. It's like once a year, if you can ask them, if your teeth are stable, if you don't have growing cavities, I would ask them, can we do this every other year or every 3 years? What are your thoughts? And see what they will work with you with. Most reasonable dentists will do that. As far as airport x-rays, like, I can avoid that. It's not necessary. I can get a pat down, so I usually skip it. Because there's just no need to, and it ends up taking longer, and some airport security lady's gonna touch your boobies, but that's like, whatever. Will dry brushing increase the elasticity of skin? Lost a bit of weight and ended up with slightly loose breast and stomach tissue. Yes, the dry brushing definitely will, because it's called a hormetic stress, or what's known as just like a slight stress, where you stress your body out a little bit and then it rebounds with this healing or recovery phase that is far beyond what the stress really needed to be able to heal. So what you want is to be able to create more collagen and elastin in your skin. And while some people claim that that is not possible, in my experience and from what I've heard and from what I've researched, like stuff like dry brushing or kind of vigorous topical massage is pretty effective. So throughout my younger years, I, gained and lost like the same 20 pounds probably 6 times. And so my lower stomach wasn't very tight, but the regular dry brushing, and then I get in there with my mixture of coconut oil and tamanu oil and the essential oils, and I'll just show you. And I just get the skin and really move it around, and you don't want to be too rough with yourself, but you just pinch it and move it and smear it, and you have oil so it's a little bit more fluid. And that's, if you do it consistently, like once a day for a month, I guarantee you're going to see an improvement, right? There's also the fascia blaster. I know that's a big thing. Like, no, does the fascia blaster work? I think the fascia blaster is a little bit rough. It's just, I feel like it's too much. Like, if you did something like that with oil, but like a little more gently, I feel like that would be enough stress to still trigger that healing response. But I've read a lot of reviews, and it's also my opinion that being that rough with yourself could end up breaking down your elastin more than building it back up. So that's and I'm not getting comments again. Damn it. Do I recommend apple cider vinegar as a facial toner? And should you be taking a little bit internally with water each day? I think apple cider vinegar can have some uses, but I wouldn't want to use it regularly on my face, because what I'm going for on my body, both on it and in my body is like a natural equilibrium between the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, and I want everything to find its own equilibrium. And I feel like if I add too many things like apple cider vinegar on my face, you know, which is very acidic and, you know, disturbs the microorganisms living in and around my face skin, I feel like it would be a little bit more imbalancing for my skin, and I don't want to do that regularly, at least. Maybe every now and then, like, I do a face mask and then apple cider vinegar. Maybe. See, I'm already second-guessing myself. But, like, there are bacteria on your skin that live there, and they eat dead skin cells, and they poop out moisturizer. Like, I don't want to mess with them and their poop moisturizer. That's great. And then as far as taking apple cider vinegar internally, I only take it when I have a specific purpose too. And usually that purpose is I am about to catch cold, or like I've talked about this before, I have that one specific illness that I always get. It starts in this sinus, and I am completely paranoid that I have like a ball of moldy fungus living inside of my sinus. Yes, I've watched all the Roto-Rooter YouTube videos. It's disgusting. But anyway, where I get that sickness where like this nostril clogs up. And then I just start drinking apple cider vinegar that has been diluted in water. And that helps to like keep all my mucus really clear and flowing so that I don't get a sinus infection. Dr. Greger has done some great videos where he reviewed studies where apple cider vinegar and other vinegars have been very effective in aiding weight loss. Even when calorie intake is exactly the same, the people who were taking the daily vinegar actually lost more weight, and they had better insulin resistance scores, and they lost more visceral fat. So that is... So maybe that could be something that's really positive if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're dealing with pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes or something like that. But otherwise, like, I don't know. I don't think it's quite the miracle food that everybody thinks it is, and I think it's medicinal, like it has specific uses, but I don't think we need to use it all the time. I hope that makes sense. Okay. What do I wash my face and body with? I just wash my face with water, and I dry brush my face, and I also wet exfoliate my face in the shower with one of those nylon scrubbers. I do also have a hemp scrubber, which I love, but I've had the nylon scrubber for like 12 years now, and I keep waiting for it to break, and it's not, so I can replace it with something that's prettier, like, you know, my hemp scrubber, but it just won't break, and it's so effective. So I don't use soap on my face, because I find that it makes my face break out, and I don't use soap on my body, really. I use a little bit of soap on my underarms, and that brand I use is called Dr. Woods. I got it on Amazon. I think it's like a Dr. Bronner's knockoff. And I want to look more into what they use as a fragrance because they don't specify, which makes me kind of uncomfortable. But the Dr. Woods black soap, it's called like raw black soap. I love that stuff so much. It feels amazing. And I love the smell. What's the fragrance? It smells really hippie-like, so I don't know. I don't know what the fragrance is. I want to know. But I've used it to wash my hair several times, and the Dr. Bronner's always left like a bad buildup in my hair. But the Dr. Woods Raw Black Soap feels fantastic. So I might just start using it as a shampoo after this. And that is still not working. Thanks for being useless, iPhone. The nylon scrubbers, they're like those, 3 feet long scrubbers. They're like at basically every health food store. I think I bought them at a health food grocery store 12 years ago when I was 17. And, come on in.
Maybe you could ask the people if they know of any places where we can get vegan inventory.
I'm not asking them. You can ask them about it. But it's like, it's made out of nylon and it's just rough and it scrubs your skin, right? Trouble sleeping? Yes! Soothing herbs like valerian root or the passiflora. I like doing nice teas like lavender and chamomile teas before bed. I also do have an emergency bottle of melatonin under all my essentials in the bedroom, so that if I need it, I can just dose myself with melatonin and knock myself back out, because I'm one of those people who like wakes up and starts obsessing and won't stop. So I usually go the herbal route to try to like soothe myself and calm myself down. I've also heard that if you try to stay awake, it makes you fall asleep, but I haven't found that. But probably the most effective sleep aid I have ever found is trying to read the unabridged copy of The Count of Monte Cristo. Yes, and Rachel recommends tart cherry juice, which helps you produce natural melatonin, which is exactly right. That's something that I believe you have to do like more consistently and kind of pre-dose yourself before bed. My melatonin supplement is specifically for those few times when I wake up and I just can't get back to sleep. There's also like you have to do your sleep hygiene and your pre-sleep routine is very important. So, are you staring at your phone right before you go to bed? Are you watching TV? Are you very stimulated? Are you talking to someone that you don't like your partner? Or, like, what's going on? I like to sip tea before bed. I also like to make sure that when I sleep, I have something over my eyes, because we have street lights outside all of our bedrooms, and I don't like curtains because they mess up the airflow in the house, but curtains also work, but I just put something physically over my eyes. Helps me sleep. Just read an article about massaging fascia for weight loss. What are my thoughts? I think it can be helpful. I think it can help to bring more blood flow to those areas. I think it can also be really helpful to touch those areas and kind of send them some positive thoughts, because so much of our hate and loathing goes to our fat, and that's not helping anything. But is it going to help you lose fat faster? Very likely not. Not significantly, anyway. Okay. Yeah, when I lost weight, and like I'm still very slowly losing weight, I always eat until I'm satisfied, and a lot of the times I accidentally or on purpose eat until I'm super full. I've gotten better at catching myself doing that, but there's still plenty of times when I overeat, like last night when I made lasagna, and it was like, and I sat down and I was like, I'm consciously going to eat until I am uncomfortable, because it's that good. I'm conscious of the fact that, like, it's not especially healthy to stuff yourself silly, right? It's not really, it's pretty well established, like, that's not the best idea for our digestive health, or for our sleeping, or for our hormonal health, or insulin health, whatever. So I try to get a little bit better about that, but it's a process of building your mindfulness muscle, and also getting to the point where I wasn't as emotionally attached about food, and I wasn't as emotionally attached about trying to suppress my emotions with food. So that was a big part of it too. But I did lose weight while still doing that. I would say that the weight loss that I've experienced in the last year or year and a half has probably in large part been to the fact that I have gotten better about that, about not stuffing myself silly. So, but I mean, I was totally satisfied with my body a year ago. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to lose weight a year ago. I still ended up losing a little bit, and I'm totally happy now, too. It's just, whatever. Okay. How did Levi cut out his processed food eating? I'm finding it super hard to pass in the grocery store without buying it. Well, that is the most effective method, which is to not buy it in the first place. So there have been several times, and Levi has asked me to do this, like I was asked. I'm not being super controlling, where we go to Target and I physically have to rip the fake meat out of his hands and throw it and tell him no. So, it's tough for him, you know. He still has cravings, and I still have cravings for processed food. Like, it's delicious, and I want that too. But, he's had to be purposeful and exert a little bit of willpower, but it's equally as important to make sure that those foods are replaced with delicious whole plant foods. So, it's like if you're eating whole plant foods instead of the processed stuff, and then you decide, oh, I'm going to put a little bit of extra salt on this just to make it really yummy. Or I'm going to put some more herbs and spices in this just to make it really complex and delicious. Then do that, you know, and just make it really yummy for you so that you still get that same hyper-palatable yumminess. It's just not processed, oil-filled, isolated protein junk, you know? So, willpower, being smart about it, and just waiting for those damn cravings to pass, you know? Can I share the recipe for my homemade corn tortillas? I already have. There's a video about it. It's like one of those half vlog, half recipe videos, but it does say homemade corn tortilla recipes, and it's really simple. It's masa harina flour by Bob's Red Mill, a little bit of salt, and water until the dough comes together. And then I just smush it out with my fingers. It's so good. Do I use tahini or maple syrup? Both of those are so expensive that I can't afford them. But if I could afford them, I would definitely use tahini sometimes, like in a salad dressing or in some other sauce, because sesame seeds are really rich in yummy minerals, and it's a relatively healthy fat, and I wouldn't eat very much of it at a time, but I would definitely include that in my diet from time to time. There's nothing wrong with it. As far as maple syrup goes, I would use it sparingly, you know, to like sweeten up some oatmeal or in a salad dressing or something, like small amounts of it. There was a time in my life when I drank maple syrup straight out of a maple syrup bottle. Everyone thought it was whiskey, so I got some pretty shitty looks, but I wouldn't repeat that nowadays, you know. It is like a refined concentrated sugar, and sure, there are some nutrients in it, that's great. It's not the worst as far as refined sugars go, but it's also not an ideal food, right? Are there foods I don't like to keep in my house because I will overeat them, like peanut butter? There used to be. I used to have less self-control with that. I've gotten to a point now where I have a lot of self-control. I don't know how that happened. I think it was just persistence. But, yeah, for a long time it was really hard for me to have stuff like peanut butter in the house, or corn chips, or rice, or tofu, or bread, or anything, cereal, anything that was like edible and could be ferried from pantry to my face within, 5 seconds. It was fair game. Now I'm better. Like, Levi can't have peanut butter in the house. He still can't. Any tips on trying to lose weight and exercise when you're depressed and don't want to get out of bed? Well, I understand the resistance to this idea, but nowadays, if I'm feeling depressed and I don't want to get out of bed, I don't. And I just kind of let myself wallow for like a day. I mean, I feel like you know that you could force yourself, but of course being depressed, you're going to say, what's the point? And to that, I feel like that's a very personal question as far as what your point is for living. I mean, it's always been helpful for me to remind myself that depression is very much a pattern, it's a state of mind, it is a neurotransmitter pathway, and I have gotten to the point in my life where I've realized that depression's going to be part of it, and it's my choice how much I allow that to be the case. So I've gotten to the point in my life where it's like, I'm depressed. What are my choices? I'm not going to kill myself. Like, I've pretty much made that choice. Like, I'm not going to do it. Mostly because I believe in reincarnation. And I feel like I would just be born somewhere worse, where I'd have to relearn these lessons over again. So, like, shit. That's not a solution anyway. And so since I'm not going to do that, since I'm going to live through it, I'm like, well, I should probably do my best not to make it worse. Right? So that's what gets me out of the bed when I'm not feeling greatest. My thoughts on dried fruit. Dried fruit, concentrated calories, generally speaking, they're covered in sugar. So between those, not great. There's also the fact that most dried fruits have been sulfurated, which means they've been exposed to sulfur because it's a preservative. And those sulfurs, the sulfites, can trigger a lot of allergic type reactions in people, a lot of sensitivities. So I advise against the dried fruit generally. It's also very dry, and if you eat it, it gets stuck to your teeth. So make sure that you brush your teeth, or at the very least, swish your water with mouth. Swish your water with mouth. Swish your mouth with water. Homemade dried fruits are a whole other ballgame. I feel like homemade dehydrated bananas or mangoes or kiwis or whatever you want to eat, apples, that can be great. That can be a wonderful way to like have snacks available for hiking, or keep an emergency stash in your car in case you get really hungry, or in your backpack. But I don't know, I've never been big on dehydrating things. It just takes so long and it's so expensive. But I can't find... Oh god. What are you people doing? What if those days in bed turn into weeks and months? Yeah, it happens. I mean, I can't say that this is going to be effective for everyone, so don't take what I say as, like, this works for you, or there's something wrong with you. Like, that's not the case. It's just unique to everyone, but I respond well by acknowledging that I am alive, and I have to live through this, so I'm going to do my best to not make this worse. And in order to not make it worse, I have to take care of my foundational stuff. So I did a video called, like, the physical, spiritual, or physical, mental, and spiritual things to do with weight loss. Sorry, I'm bad with my own video names. But when you build your foundation, that to me is what I eat, how much I'm sleeping, how much I'm drinking, the exercise that I do. That's my foundation. And if my foundation isn't strong, I have no hope of getting better, right? I have nothing to build upon for my emotional or spiritual life. I have nothing to build on if I don't have my foundation. I'm sorry, stop looking in the comments. So I purposely take care of that, and that takes a certain amount of effort. I've also noticed that, like, yeah, I'm gonna get depressed if I don't spend time outside. I'm gonna get depressed if I don't have days off by myself where I can, like, read or just relax, lay in the yard, go for a walk, spend time with dogs. I've found that doing stuff like volunteer work or trying to interact with other people, even though it can be so draining sometimes, but trying to do, like, service-oriented interaction. So, like, you know, volunteering at an animal sanctuary or at a nature center, doing a beach cleanup or a park cleanup, something like that where I can be involved and proactive and purposefully participate in activities that proactively create hope, you know, and proactively create a meaning for my life. Because if I don't have that, then I'm depressed, and that's normal. Is chocolate even somewhat healthy? Cacao, which is what chocolate is made of, is unbelievably healthy. It's very rich in minerals and other micronutrients, antioxidants. The problem is that they mix chocolate. First they divide everything and then they mix it back together with, like, tons more fat and sugar than was ever meant to be in it. So, what I like to do is, if I'm having a chocolate craving, is make, like, a smoothie or banana ice cream with a bunch of cacao powder, which is fat-free and sugar-free, and then mix that in with my bananas and a little bit of almond milk, and that usually hits my chocolate craving just right, without coming with, like, all of the fat and the sugar. I'm sorry, I ate lunch right before this. Carob powder. Yeah, okay, and the thing about the cacao is that you want to get it non-alkalized, so that means that you'd usually have to buy, like, the specifically, you know, raw cacao product, which is about the same price as cacao powder in most health food stores, and try to get it organic, too. And then there's the whole child slavery thing, so if you can find something that's not child slavery affected, that would be great, too. Carob powder, as far as I know, is pretty similar as far as, like, it's fine, enjoy it sometime. But the carob buttons and, like, the carob peanuts, those are loaded with fat and sugar and pretty much useless. So do I think gluten can affect depression and anxiety? I think gluten and many other proteins found in foods can exert influences like that in our lives. I'm not sure. I don't remember ever hearing, like, about gluten specifically, but I definitely wouldn't. Would not doubt that at all. Is tofu healthy? Should I add it daily? Tofu is fine. It's pretty close to being a whole plant food. It's, you know, it's made from soybeans, and it's a little bit refined and processed, but not bad. It's also rich in phytonutrients, which are fantastic. Phytoestrogens. I mean, phytonutrients too, but phytoestrogens was specifically what I was talking about. And it is, it's great for hormonal health, it's great for providing fiber and healthy fats and all that kind of stuff. Do you want to add it daily? Probably not. There are very few foods that I would advise eating every single day. You know, you want to eat a varied diet. So if you want to eat tofu a couple times a week, that's great. That's fine. It's like, it's pretty much just as good as any other bean, you know? But I would advise eating different legumes every week and varying your diets and mixing it up to make sure that you get all of those nutrients that you need without eating too much of any one food. And B12 is very important, so you need to make sure that, especially if you're on a vegan diet, just because we're held to such a high health standard, if you're on a vegan diet, you definitely want to supplement with B12. I recommend a methylcobalamin B12 supplement because that is the form that is utilized automatically by your body. It doesn't have to go through any kind of processing. So methylcobalamin, I use a sublingual spray. That means you spray it underneath your tongue. Your body absorbs it through your bloodstream, under your tongue. It goes right into your bloodstream, and you're good. Okay? Very easy. Does it matter what time you sleep, or is it just the amount of sleep one gets? I have heard that it does matter. It has to do with your circadian rhythm, and your circadian rhythm it's like bacteria have circadian rhythms. Like, we have had this rhythm in us of night and day since life began on this planet, you know, so it's not something that, oh, my circadian rhythm is different because I like to stay up late. No, your circadian rhythm is not different. You can't just fucking reprogram 2 billion years worth of evolution, okay? So, when the sun starts to go down, your body starts creating all of these cleansing enzymes and hormones, and it starts priming you to go to bed. And those enzymes, they're all over your body, but they're really concentrated in your kidneys and your liver and your brain, so that when you go to bed on time, around like 9 or 10 or a few hours after it gets dark, all of those enzymes kick in and start working. If you stay up too late, block. If you stay up too late, then those enzymes kind of get reused. Not for what they were intended to. So you end up missing out on a lot of that, like, brain and liver cleansing and detoxifying and all that necessary stuff. There's also the fact that, like, it's best for your body to stay with your... Oh, God. Okay. Let's see. This is killing my vibe. I'm not sure what people are talking about anymore. Any advice on what kind of shoes to get when you're dealing with falling arches? Is it better to get arch support, or will that weaken me further because they're basically propped up by the shoe? Yeah, so there are, there's, different schools of thought. Obviously, you have, like, the orthopedic shoe salespeople who are like, definitely get the arch support. It's $200. And I don't want people to be in any sort of discomfort, but, like, arch support shoes are just going to make your arches weaker, and a lot of times they end up putting your feet into a weird shape that ends up messing up the rest of your posture too. So, I would recommend... Yoga teachers are really good about this, especially therapeutic yoga teachers. They're really good about, like, waking up your feet and trying to exercise your foot muscles. I don't want you to injure yourself while you're going through this process, so maybe use some shoes with a little bit more of an arch support, like Keens or something, and then be working on exercising your feet and trying to get the muscles built up. I feel like it can be difficult. I feel like it can be difficult, perhaps, to, like, get your feet back into a shape after, if they've been flat for so long. But this is one of those things where, like, I can tell you what to do, but I'm not you, and I don't have to live with the consequences of that choice, so I can give you that advice. My hope is that it would, that your feet would perk up a little bit and get you out of pain at least, and perhaps get your feet to a better place where your posture is able to be more comfortable and healthy. But it's your call. I've heard people who are like very obstinate about, I need arch support, and I've tried to strengthen my feet and it didn't work. And to that I'm just like, okay, well, you know better than me at this point, and I'm not an orthopedic salesman. So other supplements to consider. I made a I made a video that's like supplements to consider on a vegan diet, in which I go over the kind of necessary supplements, where you have B12. Obviously, I consider that necessary for everyone. Some people have B12 allergies, slight allergies, but pretty much blanket statement, everyone needs B12 supplement. I recommend a methylcobalamin sublingual B12 supplement. The supplement that some people need to consider is vitamin D, and that's not because, you know, animal foods contain vitamin D and we're not getting it. Oop. Yeah, damn it. Hold on. Gotta block someone. Okay, I'm putting you in timeout. I don't know what you're on about. Anyway, the other one is vitamin D, because a lot of people live above the 30 degrees latitude lines in the world, and they don't get the right UV rays for part of the year, right? And those people can consider taking a vitamin D supplement, but you don't want to megadose on vitamin D, and you don't want to take vitamin D for longer than you need it, and I would recommend only supplementing if you've had a blood test and it has come back low. So low vitamin D, technically speaking, it's like below 20. Some people consider below 30 to be low vitamin D. If you want to get yourself in between like the 30 to 40 to 60 degree, or 30 to 40 to 60 level with the vitamin D, and then keep yourself there, that would be good. So it's a fat-soluble vitamin. So you take it, it stores up in your fat, and then you'll be solid for a while. So you can stop taking it for a while, and then your level, you know, may slowly come down. You can try exposing yourself to sun more often and seeing if that helps, so that you can avoid having to supplement. But I really just advise considering it if you live at a high latitude. Excuse me. Yeah, so like Cass says, she takes vitamin D because her level is 15. So that's totally an appropriate time to take vitamin D. I would recommend trying to expose yourself to sun during the summer months first, if you have time for that. But it's like if you're depressed and experiencing symptoms, just supplement with some vitamin D. The other supplement that some people should consider taking is a vegan DHA/EPA supplement. So those are the omega-3s. A lot of people get really hyped up about the fish oil supplements, but fish oil contains a lot of contaminants like dioxins and PCBs and other hormone-disrupting chemicals that are just prolific in our environment, and those bioaccumulate, so I don't want to expose myself to them any more than I absolutely have to. So I believe that everybody, not just vegans, but non-vegans too, if they're going to take an omega-3 supplement, they should take an algae-based omega-3 supplement to avoid those bioaccumulating toxins, right? So Nordic Naturals makes a really great algae-based DHA/EPA supplement. I have Levi take it every now and then, but a lot of, you know, it's not like you can't make your own DHA and EPA on a vegan diet. You just have to take in the precursor fats, so that would be ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, that comes from, you know, flax seeds, from chia seeds, from walnuts in small amounts, dark leafy green vegetables, some, you know, small amounts in like beans and whole grains and stuff. But for some people, their conversion can be low. For some people, they can have a genetic predisposition that gets in the way of their conversion, or they're eating a diet that's not ideal, or their ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s is too wonky, so that their conversion of omega-3s isn't the best. So if you're not eating like an optimal whole plant food diet, and you're not specifically trying to supplement or trying to take in those precursor fats, if you regularly drink caffeine, if you regularly drink alcohol or don't get enough sleep, or if you're under a lot of stress, consider supplementing. I don't think it would be a bad idea. Those are really the only 3 supplements that are the ones that can't more easily be taken care of with diet in most cases, or diet or lifestyle, like in the case of vitamin D, getting some more sunshine kind of thing. Starting to lose my voice. Yeah, I have thought about doing ebooks. I've kind of been writing it on and off for a while. Potassium supplements for weight loss. Just eat potassium in whole plant foods. I think I'm going to take off in about 10 minutes, and I am at 90 minutes. So let's get those last questions in. Your daughter is dealing with asthma. Yes, asthma. There's lots of evidence that asthma can be improved on a plant-based diet. Dr. Greger talked about it quite a bit in How Not to Die, or quite a bit, I guess he mentioned it. I know Dr. Michael Greger of nutritionfacts.org, he has several videos about asthma and plant-based diets. He talked about it in his book How Not to Die, like I just mentioned. And I've seen many, many studies where they look at asthma rates and asthma attacks and the severity of those attacks, and then they switch the kids to a low-fat, relatively low-protein, whole food, plant-based diet, got rid of the dairy, increased the fiber quite a bit, got the kids' digestive systems moving more. I've also seen that probiotic supplementation can be helpful with the asthma, as it helps to calm down inflammation and get rid of some of those inflammatory cytokines that can be aggravated by higher fat foods and foods that aren't as high in fiber. So, yes, it can be helpful. Other things that are also important is like keeping your kid hydrated, getting them off sugary drinks like soda or juices. Anything that brings down inflammation and increases antioxidant load. So like plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables if you can get your kid to eat them. I know it's always like an adjustment period. Getting them to drink like green tea every now and then, like iced green tea instead of juices and stuff. And not the green tea that you buy sweetened in the bottles. No, just make your own. Is white sugar as addictive as some drugs? No, it's a comparison. Like, white sugar can fire the same dopamine receptors in your brain as, harder drugs can. It's definitely not the same level of addiction, but you still get that same stimulating effect. But, it's not just sugar. And it's generally speaking sugar in combination with other ingredients. So the classic combination is sugar, fat, and salt. And when you combine those 3 together, it is quite the potent little addictive bomb. And food manufacturers know that. They're food engineers. Like, that's their job. And this is what they do. They try to create food that you put in your mouth, and it triggers a dopamine hit. You chew it twice, and then it dissolves in your mouth and just, disappears down your throat, so you barely even have to swallow, so that you always feel like you're not getting enough. And they do that to purposefully addict us into eating as much as we possibly can of junk food. And that's sick. Do I look like a doctor? Obviously, go to the doctor, and I'm putting you in timeout. Like, I don't have time for this shit. What's my opinion of taking Adderall the way it's prescribed by a doctor? So I assume you mean like for ADHD or ADD, whichever one. It's this. I've read books about it. Like, I was never diagnosed with ADHD or ADD. If anything, I have the ability to hyper focus. So, I say this with, like, no first-hand experience, and so I say this with, like, very little judgment for anyone who has to deal with this, and I don't know what you go through, but I've read books about how issues like ADD or ADHD can be really associated with gut health, and also, you know, nutrition. Obviously, we have all of these kids who are hyperactive and freaking out, and then their parents feed them soda and Doritos, and it's like, of course. Like, you can't feed that to a child and expect anything else. And then they end up getting on Adderall for the rest of their lives, right? So I think that it is pertinent to explore other options before we get into just medication. But at the same point in time, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, ADD doesn't exist. It's bullshit. It was made up. You know? It's just, again, it's one of those things where I have no experience, but if I was dealing with a kid who had ADHD, like, first of all, I would put it on a good diet. I would make sure it's getting hydrated. I would make sure it's getting as much exercise as it wanted. And then I would want to make sure that I supplemented with probiotics and worked on gut health, and then see if that helped. Have I considered going into the medical field? I have. And then the medical field, every time I've been exposed to it, has killed my soul. So, dear God. Okay. Recurrent dry cough with hypersensitive bronchial tubes. I would say, you know, you want to work on the inflammation, make sure you're hydrated enough so that you can be producing mucousy fluids, whatever, if you need to be able to help calm that down. But getting on a low inflammation diet of whole plant foods predominantly, staying away from things that are like, you know, oils and stuff that, or too many nuts and seeds that could increase the amount of fat in your diet and increase the number of inflammatory cytokines that are circulating throughout your body, including your bronchial passageways. Good night! So,
You closing down?
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap up soon. So that would be my main recommendation. But again, like, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a ton of experience with this stuff. Starch solution? Yeah, you can. The starch solution is fine, but I really don't understand why Dr. McDougall tries to limit fruit intake, because fruit sugars and fruits, eating whole fruits is not associated with weight gain. It's not associated with any health problem. So that confuses me. Where are you from? Lavender oil on your feet is a great way to put yourself and your kids to sleep. Where are you from?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from here. From Hawaii.
Yeah, you're from this house.
This house, yep.
He grew up partially in this house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My great-grandpa built this house.
How do you feel about it?
Ow.
Oh, he shot his finger with a nail gun on Thursday?
Yeah, it was Thursday. Took a picture of it if you guys want to see it.
You don't want to see it. It's really bloody.
I feel awesome growing up in this house.
Yeah.
Because I know my great-grandpa put his, blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Yeah.
And now I get to.
My thoughts on overt fats for hormonal health, cell membrane health, and fat-soluble vitamins. Yeah, I mean, you need a little bit of dietary fat. I say anywhere from like 10 to 15% of your calories from healthy fats is perfect. Some people feel better higher on that range, some people feel lower. The more dietary fat you eat, the higher your hormone levels will be. That's like a general rule across the board. And as far as like if you feel like you're one of those people who needs to eat more amounts of healthier fats, then do it. Like, that's fine. It's not gonna hurt you, really. I would say just, like, try to do it from whole plant foods instead of, refined oils and stuff. Just give yourself time to heal from, my internet won't work. Give yourself time to heal from coming off the pill. Like, it can take a really long time for your body to get back to normal. You just have to wait for your ovaries to kind of kick itself into gear. Just keep eating good foods. Make sure you're getting enough fat, but, 10 to 15% of your calories from fat is fine. Do I drink kombucha? Sometimes, but not really. I don't feel like it's, it's like it's refined sugar and it's fermented, but the probiotics really don't, like, they're not really going to make it to your colon, right?
No. I thought you did.
But it does kind of expose you to a lot of refined sugar. That said, like, it's still better than sodas or something. So if you're trying to come off sodas, if you want to switch to kombucha for a while and try to wean yourself down, that's fine. It also has some of the acetic acid in it, that's the same as the acid that's in vinegar. So perhaps it could be a little bit good for insulin resistance, even though it has refined sugar in it. But, yeah. It's one of those things, it's like, I wouldn't purposely drink it in order to be specifically healthy, but I wouldn't say absolutely no, never, either.
When we go out to party and stuff like that, that's what I usually drink, either sparkly water.
Party.
Yeah,
we go party and stay out past 9.
I drink sparkly water, or I drink kombucha. So instead of drinking alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
It's working.
No, this is from like an hour ago.
Oh, somebody said about tips about building muscle.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips? Because you're
just
pretty
more.
strong, dude.
Well, I just build
Look at
muscle,
that.
like... You and me, we build muscle pretty easily.
What are your locals?
What do locals in Hawaii eat, typically?
Fast food. Like fast food.
Fast food.
Yeah.
Like plate lunches,
Yeah.
mac salad,
Stuff like that.
lomi
yeah.
salmon, poke.
Yeah. Yeah. Our tradition
Kahlua
is
pig.
kind of screwed up now. We used to eat a lot of taro, a lot of breadfruit. We used to eat fish, pig and stuff like that.
Thank you, Sarah.
But now with all these fast food chains coming out and it's so cheap and available, and processed food being widely available and accessible like it is now, it's very hard to stay on track.
Mm-hmm.
And farmers too, like the way our economy is set up, it's not including farming. Farmers can't really make a good living over here.
Yeah, it's almost like the small farmers are purposefully getting choked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Diatomaceous earth. For what? Gets rid of bugs. I have never been to Indonesia. I would love to go. But at this point, we can't travel because of Petunia. We love her too much and we don't trust anyone to take care of her. So we're going to be here for a while.
We hired a professional to take care of Petunia.
I was really disappointed with that. Like, I hired her. I paid her like $40 a day to come take care of Petunia. And she was like, oh yeah, you can call and I'll text you and let you know how she's doing. Never heard from the woman the whole time. And then we get home and Petunia...
Like she doubled in size.
Yeah, she looks like a freaking blimp. We were gone for 3 days and she's like... She looked like a blimp. Like a tiny little blimp.
Yeah, so we're not gonna travel anywhere anytime soon.
I just don't trust anyone, and like, I know like maybe 2 people that I would trust.
But they hate dogs.
They hate dogs and they smoke so much weed, and I'm just like, I don't know. Anyway. Why allergies?
Oh.
Cool, good. All these people getting the good sunscreen.
Yeah.
Carrie Stevens. Yeah, well, what do you guys want to know about the diatomaceous earth? Is what I'm wondering, because I've seen all of these blog posts that are like, diatomaceous earth. It does this, and it's a miracle food. And, like, there's just no such thing as a miracle food, and I know it's like, you know, silica and whatever. I know I sound like I'm super suspicious of it, but, like, I do put a little bit in my drinking water because I like the way it makes my water taste. But I don't think it's doing much for me. Maybe I'm absorbing a little bit of... I don't think you can get rid of worms with it. I honestly don't think you can. I know that they say that it's like super small particles that can pierce worms, but like worms, intestinal parasites are not going to be taken out that easily. Yeah, okay. Since this video has been about depression, why don't we finish this up with this last question, which was my thoughts on taking antidepressants. So, I definitely have deep questions about the efficacy of antidepressants, because the studies that determined their efficacy as they were being presented to the market were questionably performed studies, and they were questionably reported, and the funding was definitely questionable too. And a lot of these drugs, it was like they had placebo and control group, placebo group, control group, and then the group getting antidepressants, and like it only went for 5 or 6 weeks, and then at the end of that short period of time, they would ask people how you feel, and the difference between the drug and the control group and the placebo was not significant. So I know that some people swear by them and they say that, like, I went on antidepressants and it saved my life. I'm not going to call your experience into question. I know of a lot of people who went on antidepressants and became incredibly suicidal, and it didn't help them. So I'm not going to call their experience into question either. I think that it's important to pursue alternative options and alternative treatment before you just get prescribed antidepressants. I know it's really common, you go to a psychiatrist or something, and all you have to say is, I'm depressed, and then they write you a prescription, instead of asking, why are you depressed, or what's going on in your life, or how's your relationship with your parents, or how's your relationship with your partner, or what's your job like, you know, how's life, that kind of thing. There's also, you know, making sure that you're on a good diet and getting enough sleep and drinking enough water and not drinking things like energy drinks or shit tons of other caffeinated beverages, making sure that your body is in a good place where it can actually function and giving it that chance. We started this discussion with alternative treatments for depression like 5-HTP and, you okay? You hot?
No, yeah.
Or St. John's wort or other herbal remedies that can help to kind of like give us a little boost as we're trying to get out of that pattern. But I think that antidepressants should be a last resort instead of a first resort. But I definitely don't want to disempower anyone who has found benefit from antidepressants. Should I tell my mom I'm suicidal? I'm scared because she has no idea. Well, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen for starters, me answering this question. I mean, I know a lot of parents aren't really capable of meeting their kids there, or they get really scared and so they end up rejecting you for your feelings, or they end up freaking out and like sending you to a psychiatrist to put you on antidepressants or something like that. So I would say like it's very wise to reach out for support. Your parents are really close to you. And so parents and kids tend to get pretty enmeshed with each other. So if you come to your parents and you say something like, I'm suicidal, they can freak out, right? Because that's a big deal. You're their baby and they're worried about you. I would say whoever you're most comfortable reaching out to, someone in your real life who's an adult, who you feel like is capable of hearing those feelings and supporting you through feeling them, instead of someone who might, freak out or blame you or shame you or abandon you for the feelings that you have. So I don't know if you have access, I know it's summertime, to like a guidance counselor or someone like that. Although I guess that can be a little bit risky too, because they might freak out as well. I don't know if you have any adults that you're close to, like an uncle or an aunt. And it's a hard question to answer. Or maybe when you do decide to talk to your mom, come up with like a little script, or even write it down and give it to her, trying to explain what's going on and that you do want help. Block that. Anyway, I would just do a little bit of reflection about it. Know what you want to say. Try to get an idea of what your expectations are when you go into it, and try to communicate that. I know it's really hard to communicate that. And then you have to be open to being helped too. Like, maybe your mom can find you a psychologist or someone who you can go talk to. I feel like psychiatrists are more into medications. Psychologists and therapists can be a lot better about talking with you and helping you learn how to cope on your own. I know I've really benefited from going to therapy. So I hope that is helpful. And I think we're going to wrap it up, unless you want to answer some questions. My voice is getting hoarse. Okay, guys. This has been a doozy. One of these days, Christina, I am going to be talking about, like, the racist and the homophobic stuff and all that kind of ridiculousness. It's just, I feel like that's a topic that I don't want to just randomly pop off and start talking about without having my thoughts in order and having responses ready. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all of your questions and for your participation and for your tolerance for the few trolls that we had to block. And I will... Thank you. And I will hopefully plan to do this, like, similar time next week, but if you want the specific times, you need to subscribe to me on Instagram so that you can see that. Or I guess it's not subscribe on Instagram, it's follow. Okay. Bye, you guys. Thank you so much. I will see you all very soon. Oh, do you want to do the make better choices for yourself? No, you do that? Okay. Make better choices for yourselves and take really, really good care. I'll see you. Bye. Thank you. Boop. Finish.